Today, on Be Something Wonderful, be surrounded by your answer and enveloped by your desire. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. I wanted to refer to two sessions that I had yesterday. One was with this woman that an amazing, I would say, transformation on her part from the first time I talked to her. I think we've talked 3 or 4 times now, maybe 3. Maybe that was the 3rd time yesterday. And she even sent me an email this morning to say that she just had a thought, sort of a random thought, that I wonder if my ex misses me. And then she goes, oh, that's silly. That doesn't affect my state of being and what I want to create. And then, sure enough, in just a little while, he sent her a text message saying that he missed her. She hadn't even heard from him. This is amazing. And her online business is taking off. She had more, I think it was she has a channel that she's developing, and she had a significant, really significant increase in views just overnight. So this is really what we're talking about. And she really just wanted to talk about that in her new state and how she really gets it. That it's not about keeping your focus on the already manifested reality. That it's really the idea is going within consciousness, being surrounded by your answer, right? And enveloped by your desire, which I'm going to talk about today. The other one was to tweak an imaginal scene in some of the processes that this client was applying. And and we had a discussion. He felt like, oh, Tom, sometimes it feels like I'm just fantasizing. And so we really got into that idea, the difference between daydreaming and fantasizing and imagining your wish fulfilled, or imagining your imagined end or your desired end. So today, guys, we're going to cover this and more. So I want to start with this. Based on what we talked about yesterday, consciousness doesn't distinguish between real or imagined unless you do. So you're not just conjuring some fantasy up. Consciousness doesn't know the difference unless you say so, unless you do. Consciousness will consolidate around whatever you intend, whatever you believe, and whatever you assume, or in other words, whatever you imagine. Consciousness will create or become whatever you give time, space, and attention to. I've talked about this now in a few videos, but hear this. So let's cover this. Let's really hit this today. So when you're desiring or wanting or needing something, that's different. You're focused on the thing desired rather than the experience of fulfillment. Do you hear this? That's the difference between desiring, wanting, and needing, and being surrounded by your answer, right? Being enveloped by your desire. Here, when you're desiring, when you're wanting, when you're needing something to happen, you're focused on the thing rather than the experience of fulfillment. You're giving time, space, and attention to lack, to doubt, to non-fulfillment. Wow, that's big. Remember, fulfillment just is. It's never absent. Who you are, what you really are, is fulfillment. It's never absent. It just is. The experience of fulfillment is the absence of lack. Lack is made up. Okay, so lack's not the experience of the absence of fulfillment, and fulfillment's always there. Rather, the experience of fulfillment is the absence of lack, because lack's made up, so you're not feeling that natural fulfillment. Right? Your natural ability, your natural divinity. Your attention is on the already manifested reality, already 3D reality of not having or not being what you want, what you desire, and what you need. Or at least that's what you believe. That's what you perceive. Right? So big. So, fantasizing and daydreaming versus imagining. Fantasizing, the 3D manifested, is given more validity in reality than your imagined experience. That's fantasizing. That's daydreaming. You're giving the 3D reality more validity, more reality than your imagined experience. Imagining is about intending, assuming, and believing. But believing is to know in this case. So it's believing from the standpoint of conviction, from a knowing. You're focused on the experience of fulfillment. Versus in daydreaming, you're judging 3D, manifested reality, as more real. There's separation. You expect non-fulfillment when you're fantasizing. You're not expecting to be fulfilled. It's a daydream to you. Do you see the separation? The house, the love, the money, it's all separate from you. But when you're imagining, when you're intending, assuming, and knowing it, when you're focused on the experience of fulfillment, now you're surrounded by the answer. Now you're enveloped by your desires. You see it, the house, the love, the money. It's all there. You're surrounded by everything you want. There's no separation. That's big. So, and I've talked about this in other videos. You can see those on the channel where I really unpack this deeply. But in the edits of the 4th century of the Bible, of Scripture, they actually edited out 2 sentences that were key, that told us how to imagine, how to pray, right? John 16, 23, 24, right? Whatever you ask the Father in my name, you will receive, right? So but missing from that was telling you how to do it. Missing from that edited present-day version that we all know, the new translation of the original Aramaic version holds the key. And here's the key. Here are the 2 sentences that got edited out that really were in the original version. Here it is. Ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. Be enveloped by what you desire, that your gladness be full. Wow. Notice, go to John 23, 24. You're not going to see these 2 sentences. These were edited out in the 4th century edits. These tell us how to ask. These tell us how to imagine. These tell us how to feel it, right? Ask without hidden motive. What does that mean? It means ask without judging it, without judging 3D reality, without attachment to your desire, without rejecting current manifested reality. Wow, that's big, right? And then be surrounded and enveloped, right? Be surrounded by the answer and enveloped by what you desire. Be surrounded, enveloped by fulfillment, by the conviction, by the knowing. Wow. Give more reality. In other words, give more reality to your inner world of imagination than to anything else. So big. Let's continue this. So, you give more time, space, and attention to your manifested reality than to your imagined reality. That's why it feels like a fantasy. That's why it feels like daydreaming. That's why you say you're imagining your wish fulfilled, but it still hasn't manifested. That's why, right? You're giving much more. Remember, whatever you give time, space, and attention to is reality. So if you keep giving time, space, and attention to the already manifested, that what is, then you cannot imagine what can be. You can't imagine what you really want, right? It's what is versus what could be, right? You judge, you condemn, you praise, you resist, you embrace, you love and you hate, and you tell the story about 3D reality as though it's something separate from you. And when in reality, it's all you. Do you see this? You do all of that with 3D reality, and it makes it real. It keeps it in your experience, right? What's the key then? Imagine and visualize yourself as the version of you already experiencing your desired end and imagined end. See and be the version of yourself for whom your desired reality is already real. In other words, intend, assume, know it, be surrounded by the answer, be enveloped by your desire. So big today, so big. So, remember, you are surrounded by the answer and enveloped by what you desire. The desired reality and version of yourself already exists as an alternative reality. So here you are in your already 3D version. As you start to focus on your desired end, as you start to imagine your wish fulfilled, as you stay in that end, in that assumption, the law of assumption of what you want is already a metaphysical reality and will manifest in 3D. As you stay in that assumption, you start to, the old you, the old reality starts to fade. And then the mold or the new reality starts to form. It starts to coalesce around that new version of yourself. Do you see it? That's your old reality starting to go out. That's your new reality. That's the metaphysical you. As it then becomes the new you, that new reality. Do you see how that goes? Give no importance or attention to the unwanted contradictions and opposites that are outside of your attention to them, right? They have no reality, that have no reality was what I meant to say. The opposites, yeah. Give no importance or attention to the unwanted contradictions and opposites that have no reality outside your attention to them. They have no reality, those contradictions, those opposites, they're here. They may come up, but it's already fading. Give no relevance or reality to anything that's not your chosen reality. Your desired end, right here, your new reality. So big. So let's hit this a little bit more. I've talked about this, but remember, we talk about in terms of parallel realities. All spiritual teachers do that, right? Or alternative realities, and we think of them as parallel, but really, what's really happening here is you're in the center of all of it. You really are already surrounded by the answer, already enveloped by your desire. Those timelines are around you. And as you think, feel, and believe, with new thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, you are a reality generator. You're creating new realities of past, present, and future, quote, events, although it's all happening right now. Right? So there is no past, present, and future. But there they are around you. So you merely have to imagine, focus, and assume that desired end, and then you move to it. Everything is here and now. The bridge of incidence is you moving through parallel realities to your desired lifeline. But it's not parallel, it's not linear. So you could be moving from here to here, right, as you imagine your new reality. Wow, that's big. So try this. I've talked about this now in a few videos. I want to refresh it, give you a new sort of process, not a new process, but a process we've talked about before, but see it in a new light. I'm calling it this time the quantum leap meditation. Why? Because quantum leaps don't mean that they're huge leaps. It just means you're shifting realities. You're moving to that new reality. You're focusing on your desired end and moving to it. So be still and know. Be still and know what? Know that you're God. Know that you are that what you want to be. That you're surrounded by your new reality. That you're enveloped by your desire. You're surrounded by your answer. Retrieve your attention from current 3D reality. Just let it be. Get into that alpha state. You can get into a state akin to sleep, but really just an alpha state. A totally relaxed state. Right, where you're breathing normal but deeply, right? Close your eyes, feel that, right? Feel that I amness, feel that reality of who you really are. Then intend, choose, imagine, receive the image of your new reality. You can either conjure it up, right? Create a simple scene, as Neville Goddard talks about, a scene that you actually put yourself in, right? Where you're not just staring at it. Like a movie, right? Create that new reality, that new version of yourself. Simple scene that implies fulfillment. Now you're looking at it, you're visualizing it, right? Maybe you just conjure the scene or the scene comes to you, but at first you're just looking at it. Step 3 is when you enter and occupy the scene. Now you become surrounded by your answer. Now you become enveloped by your desire. You identify as versus looking at it, right? Visualization, back in the day, they just talked about looking at it. We're talking about identifying as it, entering the scene, entering the action, becoming that new version of yourself, seeing through the eyes of the imaginal you. Look at it, look out from within. You're looking out at the scene from within. Wow, that's powerful. Then simply rest in that fulfillment. Walk by faith, not by sight. You are in your new reality. This is what really happened to my client that I talked to. Right? She's just feeling it. She's feeling free. She's feeling love. She's feeling invincible. She's feeling the clarity and the focus of being of her power, of her inner authority now. Right? Where she doesn't have to do anything. It's all just happening. And it's just coming from a place of she gets it now. Right? So be surrounded by your answer and enveloped by your desire. That's how to do it. I am your host, Tom Caron. This is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. You can follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. We have a group called the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors. That's an open group. You're free to join that. More and more are joining and sharing their stories and sharing guidance and insights. That's at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Caron. And also just visit our website, which has all that information and more, at tomcaron.com or besomethingwonderful.com. Until next time, with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Tom. See you soon.